we're going to do an edible aged metal finish on top of this little fondant anchor. This fondant is actually loaded with a whole bunch of Tylose so that it will dry, but it was just cast only a few minutes before beginning this technique. I find that the technique takes better and looks better if you do it on nice fresh fondant or gum paste. So I'm using a gold highlighter here. This one is not edible, but there are plenty of options, and I've put a link just below this video to a great edible luster line. This one, however, I have diluted with some grain alcohol. It is just like Everclear. I use Spiritus Rectifiquani. You can see it above in the blog post, a picture of it and a link to find some online. It is 96% alcohol, which is completely crazy, 192 proof. So I've got these two things mixed together, and I'm finding that it's applying a little bit thinly right now. So by swirling around my mixture, it's allowing that alcohol to evaporate. Since it's such a high alcohol content, it really wants to evaporate quickly, which is, really a benefit here as opposed to vodka, which has a much, much higher water content and lower alcohol content. So by swirling, I'm getting rid of some of the alcohol and creating a thicker metallic finish with the paint. That's one way to do it. You can also drag it up along the sides of the bowl or dish, whatever you're working in, and allow the sides to just kind of drain so that the little particles of the gold highlighter stay up along the sides of your bowl, your dish, while the alcohol drains back down into the basin of your bowl. Now when you're applying this, you want to be very intentional not to get it on those ropes or any details that are not going to look like aged metal. Going right up along the sides is great, so having a flat-ended, narrow-ended brush is ideal here. Sorry for the hand right in your way. I have to turn this just a little bit so that you can see where I am and so that I can work a little bit easier. Now I'm still finding that this gold metallic paint is just a little bit too thin. It's not doing what I want, so I have it at an angle right now, and all of that is at the top is a higher concentration of the highlighter to the alcohol, because the alcohol has slid down while the particles of the highlighter have kind of stayed up there. So that's another trick you can use. I can sit and swirl this all day to evaporate some of that alcohol, but sorry about the hand again. But again, it's going to take a little bit more time, and I'm impatient. So I found another way around it. And we're just going to go in here and real quickly finish up all this gold application. Just getting into some of those tiny little details to finish up. And then we're going to get out our black petal dust. And I'm taking a round-ended brush, kind of a medium size, and I'm kind of pouncing and really working that black petal dust into there. It's a good thing that the highlighter and the fondant or gum paste are still a little bit wet. They still have moisture left in them, because that allows this petal dust to really be worked in and kind of almost split some of those areas of the highlighter to get in there and really settle in. And that's what creates this really aged, old look to it. Don't be afraid to go in there and really, really work it. Your brush is not going to damage your fondant or gum paste, but you're really going to pick up some of the details, especially if the mold that you use or make has kind of that beaten and worn metal look to it. Mine was, my original piece was very textured, which was very cool because that allowed all of the petal dust to really grab onto something in there. Now I'm going in with just a little bit of alcohol. Again, it's the same grain alcohol, the rectified spirits, high alcohol content, just to remove all the excess petal dust. It's completely okay that those ropes have a little bit on there. I don't want the ropes to look brand new and super snazzy. We're going to be using a lemon yellow airbrush food color on this part with a tiny, tiny little brush. I like the airbrush color because it dries so quickly and because it's so thin. I also like the lemon yellow. It just feels more natural to me. The electric yellow is a little too bright. And if you go with an egg yellow, it tends to be a little too orangey in its fully concentrated state. And I prefer to use it just in its straight state rather than having to dilute it. And now I'm going to take some more airbrush food color, the super black, and I'm going to go in and just deepen some of these details, especially where there's little overlaps, places that I would want to naturally see shadow and definition. So I'm going in around some of the ropes. You can actually line those little details of the rope if you have a steady enough hand and you really want to make yourself a little crazy. I'm going to go in and just create some shadow and depth in areas where it should naturally be. And I'm also going to define these little... Ooh, my little ding-a-ling just went off. That sounded wrong. Let's turn that off. And we're going to go in and just get some more of these details, like in around that top knot in that loop. And I'm just going to use my brush to kind of tap some of those out. It's going to naturally bead up on that. And so you kind of want to tidy it up a bit. And there is our anchor, our aged metal finish.